On to Eskom now. It says it's run out of money. This is to buy more diesel for emergency generation. It follows the worst load shedding on record. The utility adding that the cash-strapped entity will instead focus on much-needed maintenance at its struggling power plants. Chief Operating Officer Jan Uberholzer says Eskom can no longer afford to burn through diesel.
We do not have money to burn diesel anymore. You know, if you find the municipalities, I've just been saying, owing you 52 billion rand, but on the other side, you are forced, to burn diesel while people are owing you money. So you are depleting your cash flows, and this is where we find ourselves at a very, very delicate position. And moving forward, provided we can resolve the issue of cash flow, we will be forced as Eskom to implement load shedding because we do not have the money to burn the diesel at the rate that we have been doing up until now. And I think it's important to understand this.
Uberholzer says the utility is aware of the impact of load shedding both on the economy and people living in the country.
Now, since the 1st of April, unfortunately, we had 141 days of load shedding. And that is obviously a huge source of concern to ourselves. And we fully understand the impact thereof on the economy of the country and the lives of 61 million people in the country. However, we still have a challenge in terms of sufficient capacity in the country. Now, we have to continue with the reliability maintenance, but it makes it extremely difficult if you do not have sufficient capacity to meet the demand of the country while you need to do sufficient and adequate reliability maintenance.
Well, for more on the country's power crisis and problems facing Eskom, we're joined by energy expert Hilton Trollip. Hilton, good evening. Thanks for your time tonight. Just when we thought it couldn't get worse, it apparently does. What is going to be the impact of Eskom being unable to burn fuel in case of emergencies?
The impact of them not being able to afford diesel is we will have additional stages of load shedding. So, as it is, they shouldn't be using those open cycle gas turbines as much as they are. They should only be used 5% of the time when there's a peak in the evenings. But they're using them for many hours a day because there's a permanent shortage of capacity on the grid. And so when they can't burn them for a few hours a day, if they don't have budget to buy diesel, then we simply will have additional stages of load shedding. And the issue here, when you said, just when we thought things couldn't get worse, I think often, when you tell people things they don't want to hear, they just don't listen. They don't hear. Eskom has been telling us now for 2 years that load shedding will be a permanent feature of South Africa until we get new generation capacity onto the grid, new investments in new power stations to replace the coal fleet that is past its sell-by date and has also been hammered. And Kathy, what they did tell us, new information today, which some experts knew already, but which they haven't put out into the public, is Eskom has been hammering its fleet of coal-fired power stations for the past 15 years. It's been running them harder than it should. It also showed information from other utilities worldwide showing that if you do this to these stations, if you run them harder than you should, then they wear out sooner. So they told us a lot about that. They also told us that because of a continual shortage, when a plant goes off because it breaks down, usually what you would do is you would take it off, you would fix the immediate problem, and you'd take the opportunity to do some maintenance, put some spares onto it, etc. But he says what they have to do, as soon as they just get it going again, they slap it back onto the road. If you imagine it was a big truck that kept on breaking down. So they've got these 100 big trucks equivalent as an analogy. They've got them, only half of them, well, they've got 58% on the road, 40% are broken down all the time. And as one breaks down, they put another one on. But as that one gets, as soon as they fix it and put it on, another one breaks down. And they simply don't have the space to fix them properly.
Yeah.
And they never will until we get new capacity on the grid, new investments.
Hilton, I completely hear the point that you're making around Eskom having long issued warnings about the deteriorating state of infrastructure and the impact that that will have on load shedding. The other reality that we're faced with, of course, is that there is load shedding that South Africans have become accustomed to. But what is clear is that we are entering an era of load shedding that we simply have not seen in the history of this country. If we look at the latest research by the CSIR, it shows that in September alone, Eskom implemented more load shedding than in 2020, the entire year. And so the scale of what we're talking about, to me, seems incomparable.
That's correct, Kathy, and so long as we don't build new power stations, it will get worse and worse. You ain't seen nothing yet. So the thing is not about blaming people, it's about solutions. And there's this a public spat going on between the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, with the Mineral Resources and Energy Minister saying it's not because we don't have enough capacity, it's because Eskom isn't fixing its coal-fired power stations. And we have Eskom saying we can't fix them. So they're the engineers, they're the people that know how it works. The Energy Minister is not. And I think there's a similarity. It was struck me, and I don't know if it's insensitive or to mention this, but, you know, do you remember a situation in the middle of the 2000s when we also had a minister that surrounded herself and the president with dissident thinkers, and they said that HIV/AIDS wasn't caused by HIV, and that various drugs didn't work, and that we must eat beetroot and garlic and drink alcohol to fix it. And I think and the whole medical establishment, the Medical Research Council, all the doctors, the universities said, nonsense, that's not the case. And we've got the same thing now. We've got a minister that is surrounded by dissidents that don't understand energy systems, that are appointed to the DMRE because they believe in this baseloadism myth. And we've got all the universities, the CSIR, the experts saying an opposite thing. And it's very unfortunate.
Hilton Trollip, we'll leave it there for tonight. And